Hi everybody, welcome back to A Dinosaur in the Library. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, and showing up again to hear me ramble about books. So tonight I'm going to be talking about the Book Riot Read Harder Challenge. I've been hearing everybody do their videos and watching all these videos about people doing all the readathons and the bookathons and the reading challenges, and I would love nothing more than to do every single one that I hear about, but I know perfectly well that I am not going to have the time to do so once the semester starts, and the semester starts in 2 days. Tonight's Monday, it starts on Wednesday, and I have a whole semester of really hard work ahead of me. I have to take statistics and all kinds of other things. So I wanted to pick a challenge that I could feasibly finish. So I talked about in a couple of videos ago my Goodreads number that I want to read this year, and that's 100. Hopefully that's not overly optimistic, but we'll see. But this is, like I said, the Book Riot Read Harder Challenge. I will link the video below, or the link below where they talk about it. And there's also a bingo card, which is what I'm going to be using, which I think is just awesome, that you can use to mark yours off. And that's what I'm using. So I will put the link to that down below as well. But there are 24 challenges. And of course, on the bingo card, there's a free space in the middle. But so it's set up so you can do 2 a month. If you read faster or you have more time to read, you can complete them all, I suppose if you read a lot, you could do it in 1 month, right? But like I say, once the semester starts, I'm not going to have as much time. So hopefully 2 a month won't be too much. And even if it is, I will have time in my breaks to complete the challenges. So I'm just going to go through them fairly quickly. I'm going to go through the 3 that I've already finished, actually, because since the first of the year, I've read pretty much a book a day, because I know that I'm not going to have time soon, so I've been trying to cram in as much as possible. So I've already finished 3 of the challenges. First one is to read a book published by an indie press, and that one was Meaty by Samantha Irby, which I reviewed a couple of videos ago, if you want to check that out. A book by an author of the opposite gender from you, and I'm counting Scorch Trials by James Dashner for that one. Reading a young adult book, and I'm counting Cinder, the first book in the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, for that one. And then I don't know what I'm going to read for all the rest of them. There's 2 I know for sure which ones I'm reading for them. But beyond that, I am without plan. So we'll see how this goes. The ones I do know is you have to read a retelling, and I'm going to count either Scarlet or Cress, one of the other Lunar Chronicles, because I know after finishing Cinder that I'm going to be reading that entire series now. It was really good. I loved it a lot. I'll probably do a short review of that at some point. And then a translated book. So this one will be The Map of Chaos by Felix J. Palma. I talked about this I think in my Best Reads of 2014 video. I love the Trilogia Victoriana trilogy, and, well, that was a little redundant, wasn't it? The Trilogia Victoriana, and it will be coming out in June in English. It's already out in Spanish. Unfortunately, my Spanish is a little too rusty to try to read a novel, so I'll have to wait till June, but that will be my translated novel. So then the rest of them are, I have to read a book by an author under 25, a book set in Asia, a short story collection, a microhistory, a book by an indigenous author or about an indigenous culture, an award winner, so any literary award, sci-fi, which shouldn't be hard at all because, as you can tell from what I read so far, I'm kind of into sci-fi, a book published in 2015, a book published before 1850, a self-improvement book, a book that was recommended to you, a book by an author over 65, a book of poetry, a book by an author from Africa, an LGBTQ book, a graphic novel, a romance, an audiobook, and a guilty pleasure. And there's going to be some of these that are really easy for me, like I say, the sci-fi, the graphic novel, the LGBTQ, the poetry. Those are no problem. I probably could look at my to read on my shelf and pull them right now. Microhistory, I have a book here Cube, The Secret History of the Workplace by Nikhil Savell. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. There's also a book about maps. So, I mean, those kinds of things I'm really interested in, and I probably already have. But the ones that are really going to trip me up, I think, are romance, because I do not read romance. 2.5, well, I don't remember which semester I took it, but I had to take Information Needs of Adults. And each week we read a different genre of adult fiction and nonfiction. And we, journaled about it and talked about the different sorts of books that fell into this genre, the kinds of things that we would use as reader's advisory, as practicing librarians, things like this. And one week was romance, because whether or not you like romance, it's a huge genre for public libraries. And I honestly just don't like romance novels. And I know that there are books that have romance in them that are not romance novels per se, but for that week we had to read a romance novel. I went out and found the strangest and most bizarre one that I could, and it was called Hedging His Bets, and the main love interest was a were-hedgehog, and it was really a novella, but it was just awful. Probably... It was the first 1-star review I'd given in quite some time. It was absolutely horrifying to me. And if you liked that book, I am so sorry. But I just could not deal with it. So that genre is going to be a little hard for me. But I think I can probably find a book that has romance in it that is not something like that. And forgive me, all you Nicholas Sparks fans, or that's Nicholas, because I really don't like Nicholas Sparks novels. If you love them, I'm glad that he writes so many for you, because he does write a lot, but I just don't like them at all. I have tried to read one, and I just could not get through the first chapter. It was just too much. But I'm sure that there's some book I can find with some romance in it that's not going to drive me crazy. Another one that's going to trip me up probably is audiobook. I don't have anything against audiobooks. I just don't really like listening to them. I've only ever listened to one audiobook ever, I think, and that was Violin by Anne Rice, and that was only after I'd read the book. And the only reason I listened to the audiobook is because I was told that there was a lot of beautiful music that went with it, because that kind of fit the story. And it was a wonderful audiobook, but I just really don't like audiobooks. I don't know why. I have a thing for physical hard copies of books, and I tend not to like any other format, but I'll have to find one. Maybe a poetry book. That would be kind of fun. I think I could deal with poetry. There was another one that I think was going to... a guilty pleasure, because I'm really not... To call something a guilty pleasure kind of implies that you're almost ashamed to admit that you read it, or that you listen to it, or whatever, or watch it, and I don't really have any books that I'm ashamed to admit that I read. I don't think there's a book I've ever read, other than perhaps Hedging His Bets, that I wouldn't want to tell people that I read. So that one's going to be a little difficult. I guess I'm really going to have to stretch that definition to things perhaps like, a book that someone else might consider a guilty pleasure, but that I don't really... I don't know. So if anybody has any ideas for me, if you have any suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below, or recommend them to me on Goodreads. My Goodreads profile, my Twitter, I think my Instagram, and my blog, which is woefully unupdated, and I'm terribly sorry, are all linked below, as well as, like I said before, the bingo card and the link for the Read Harder Challenge. So you can check it out if you want to. If you're going to do this challenge, let me know. Maybe we can keep up with it together. That would be really fun. And it would make me feel like less of a slacker for only being able to do one challenge this year. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I will see you next time. If you like what you hear, subscribe, like this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!